Clarity is not a prerequisite for living.
Participation is.
Clarity doesn't come from waiting and reading or learning or watching videos. Clarity comes from participation. Have you ever noticed in your life when you've been confused about something or you've been unsure about what to do next or if you should do a certain thing, that the only way that you actually know what to do is once you start doing it, once you start going down one of the paths you've chosen? So with a lot of the people in my world, a part of this is a fear, a deep, deep fear, because very deep down, these women know that consequences of choices can be very strong, especially as a woman. And historically speaking, the consequences for women are unfair. And so it is in our bones. It is an ancestral wound that we carry, that making a choice could be life or death. And we feel like that is still true. And yes, there always is that possibility. But I want to challenge that belief a little bit, because if you look around where you are right now at this very second in your life, you're probably safe, or you wouldn't be listening to this, right? So there's a part of us that does have to talk us off a ledge when it is true. When you're sitting in your room listening to a podcast, or you're in your office, or whatever you're doing, you're driving your car, chances are you are safe in that moment. And we have to remember and relearn that safety does exist. That being said, this ancestral wound that we carry about choice making and having the consequences be not what we desire is a roundabout way of hiding. Basically, uncertainty is another way to hide or melt into the walls, as I say. Uncertainty, or the belief of being uncertain, is actually kind of a falsity. You might not feel certain, but if you started to move, you might become more certain if you started to participate. But the thing is, people stop participating, or they never start participating, because they are afraid of conflict. They are afraid that they're not going to be able to hold themselves in the conflict. Now, what does that mean, hold themselves? If someone doesn't have an unshakable core, where they don't understand exactly who they are and what they stand for, or how they interact with the world, or how they relate to the world, or how they feel safe in the world, they won't participate. They won't have an unshakableness about them. When you develop that unshakableness, it is like a palm tree. You can bend, you can get pushed over in the wind, but you stand back up eventually. And we have this fear that we don't got ourselves. That's what that means. We don't got ourselves because we don't trust that we are unshakable enough to meet the demands of the world, or to confront someone, or to meet the conflict in a balanced and honest way. So all of these reactionary responses that we have kind of come from that. Like, we will fawn or we will flee, right? We will fight or flight, instead of being grounded in your heels into the earth, knowing that you deserve to stand here and state your feelings and deal with the conflict, or even sometimes just to exist. Sometimes you don't believe you should exist in that space that you're in, or at all, or that you just don't deserve to be there breathing the same air as everybody else. That is what keeps us from participating. So you're not really confused. You are afraid of conflict, or you are afraid of that you will lose yourself in the conflict, or you won't have a way to combat the conflict. And conflict doesn't need to be this crazy life or death situation. It can just be something not going your way and you're not sure how to deal with it. But knowing your values, having that unshakable core, and understanding why you want certain things will help a lot. That why can really be grounding. And it can also be clarifying, because if you wanted something because maybe deep down it was fulfilling something you never got in childhood, maybe that thing that you want you're not going about it in the way that's. But these things can be some of the questions that you ask yourself when you are hiding, when you are not participating, when you are looking for clarity or certainty. Because, girl, I have some very controlling placements in my chart. I feel like it doesn't get any more controlling than me sometimes. And I get it. You want to control all of the aspects of reality so that reality is easy. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting reality to be easy. My take is reality becomes easy when you become able to participate in it because you are unshakable. Controlling all the aspects of reality or all the aspects of your life is just going to make you exhausted. You have to remember that reality isn't just what you want it to be, unfortunately. And that's the misnomer in the spiritual community, that your reality is just made up with your own thoughts. You are missing out on half of reality. You are only half of reality. Sorry to tell you this, maybe not even that much. Reality consists of so many other things, and I have a list. I've made a list. Let's find it. Any day now. Here we go. We are taught incomplete manifesting. That's just the bottom line. And my life, this podcast, all of my work is not about manifesting, but it is about relating. And in some wackadoo way, it's all related anyway. But here's the thing. We are taught incomplete manifesting. We are taught that we are here and around us is our field, which is not untrue. All of this is true. It's just incomplete. And our field will consist of our energy, our thoughts, beliefs, our traumas, our signatures, our electromagnetism. I don't know. There's probably more than I can list. Obviously, I am not the be-all and end-all here. And that reality is created based off of that field. That your thoughts, your beliefs, your blocks, your traumas create your field, and then your field creates the reality. That's only partially true. It is why healing is important, right? Because healing changes your perspective changes your filter, and the filter then lets in different realities. You're not trying to constantly affirm an identity that you already have. You've changed your identity, therefore the filter changes, therefore the reality can come in that's different. But that's not all of it. That would be far too controlling of reality to be that way. Reality consists of chaos, right? In the myths, so many of them, Egyptian myths, Greek myths, Norse myths, Mesopotamia, there is an element, the very first two elements are chaos and order. Chaos and order create the world. We've only been taught the order part. The chaos part still exists. It's not just, I don't know, Marduk. It's it's not all hero demiurge order making either. Right? It's not just order. Also chaos. So manifesting in reality, we have the incomplete version, which is the order, which is the part where all these conditional thoughts come from, right? If I just behave this way, then I will get the reality I want. If I just do this, then I will get that. And we try to treat reality like a vending machine. Reality consists of probably so much more than what I'm about to say, but timing. Yeah, guys, timing. This is why astrology exists. It is in essence, the recording of time. Movement in space is time. Movement of these bodies in space and tracking them creates time. It gives us the construct of 1 second after the other. Timing is a thing. Saturn exists because Saturn is needed, not to be a pain in our asses, but to be Father Time, to be karma, to be choices that we make in the world, and creating new karma for ourselves by creating new decisions, new choices. It is randomness. There's a reason why Mercury exists, right? Momentum, luck, Jupiter. Jupiter exists because luck is a part of the equation. I know nobody wants to say that, but sorry, this is a part of reality. Other people's wills is a part of reality, guys. Like, you can't just force people to do what you want to do. They have to be willing to do it. Especially if it's to create your own personal reality. Algorithms, sorry to say it, create reality on a certain level. That doesn't mean we should play to them, but it exists. Opportunity exists. Class exists. We have to admit that class exists, and class gives systems of socioeconomic power which give opportunities. Not all opportunities. Some opportunities come in like the wind in the night, but many opportunities only exist because of class and socioeconomic status. Skill sets, they're kind of a part of that, right? Because if you are of a certain class, it might be harder for you to get an education, and therefore your skill sets will be different. So skill sets are a part of creating reality. Not always, but sometimes. I know a lot of unskilled people that seem to be somewhat successful. Environment. Repetition. Here we go. Here's another Saturn, right? Creating reality through repetition. Exposure. Embodiment. Momentum. Proximity. Sometimes proximity helps create reality. And this is why certain people in the world are in high, powerful places who have never touched their blocks or traumas in their whole life. Because if getting rid of your blocks and traumas was the only way to create reality, we would only have healed people at the top. That sounds ridiculous because everybody at the top is basically a chaos demon. They are a chaos dragon. So being able to bypass inner work by having luck or class that gives you a better socioeconomic system that also gives you more opportunity without really having to lift a finger, it makes it easier to do repetition because you're constantly getting reinforced for it. So you can see why reality is both. It's not just change your thoughts, change your life. It's a part of it, not the whole. And so to circle it back around to clarity and certainty, there's no amount of control that you can have on your own inner world that will help you participate, because guess what? This chaos side of this requires participation. It requires you not to hide. So what ends up happening is we get stuck in this like purity culture in our own brains of, if I just keep making myself better, then the universe will repay me somehow. But the universe, my friends, this one hit me hard. So if you're driving, stop. Listen to this later. The universe, unfortunately, is not a meritocracy. The universe does not reward you for being gooder, for being a better woman, for being cleaner, for being without any blocks or traumas, that's not ever going to happen anyway. So you're just causing yourself to go in a circular motion by way of basically creating the uncertainty. Creating your reality requires participation. Participation requires visibility. Visibility requires vulnerability, and vulnerability requires some understanding of your own unshakable core, which understanding your boundaries are included in that. So while we have this thinking, we have to get rid of our blocks and traumas and beliefs and all of our patterns. We have to know all of our patterns. That creates a lot of psychic weight. But what I'm really concerned about and what I work with a lot of the time is the psychic weight of the fear of participation, the fear of really putting yourself out there. The background fear of, I don't really know myself, or I don't really got myself, so I can't enter this chaos situation because I won't know what to do. But you are not in control of everything, only some things. Chaos and randomness and networks and other people's wills, they are a part of creating reality. So you can't wait for your controlled certainty situation before you participate. Participate first while you're building yourself. Put yourself out there before you're done with your thoughts, beliefs, blocks, and traumas, Your life and you deserve more than thinking you have to be pure before you get what you want.